This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic pick show, the Circa Million, the Circa Million cast here on the RosterWatch YouTube. So pumped to be here with you today as we are making a return after a bunch of weird travel weeks with Thanksgiving and Cody coming down to Austin and everything like that. But we're back. We're here to argue over what picks we're going to put in for our Circa entry is the basic deal. Before we get into it, just a quick reminder that this is all brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure to go to Underdog Fantasy and use that promo code ROSTER for a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We know that a ton of you guys are playing their pick'em games and getting into some of the weekly contests there. But if you're playing pick'em, make sure to come to the site. We're going to have for our pro members all the pick'em entry selections up from Cody, myself, and from Trashman. As of Cody, what are we hitting at right now? After a relatively down week of about a 50-50 week last week, so we probably came down from 63% a little bit.
Yeah, we're technically still at where to go? 61% on the board. All three of us, you and Trashman are at 62% now. I dropped down to 60% with the poor week last week.
Okay, so basically we're hitting at 61% on the season. So go check out those prop and pick'em selections and go put them into Chat GPT, get some combinations, and put them into Prize Picks, dude. And put them into Underdog, put them into wherever you want to wherever you want to use them. Just go Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROSTER, and you can use those for player props too. Wherever you want to play them, but Underdog Fantasy is where we play. Use the picks there. That's where we get the picks from. Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROSTER. Okay. There's one lock that I have this week, guys.
Let's hear it.
One lock, and it's the Dolphins, because whenever the Dolphins are playing at home and they're playing against a bad team, and I think we can all say now that the Jets are a bad team, right? And now we just got word that Breece Hall is going to be out. He's doubtful. Sauce Gardner is doubtful. I think that this line is it 5.5 in the Circa contest? Is it 5.5? This game is built for this game is.
I love it. You don't have to talk me into this. I love this game. This is one of the games that stood out to me in kind of a light contest at first glance. I was like, man, this is a tough card, and I've never seen a board for a week this clearly. I love the board. I love this pick. The algo loves this pick. 27.86 to 15.61. Granted, the algo has been terrible this year. Hitting at probably just under 50%. Somehow, even with a 13 to 16 game week, there's 7 to 8 winners, and we do seem to be selecting them at a much better rate, which we should. We know football.
Yeah. So yeah. And if you look at if you look at the, in the sheet, if you look at the free three and the ones that we actually put in the Circa entry, if you're tailing those, you're doing really well, right? If you're just betting them as individual games. So, yeah, we've been having to kind of curate through there and find the best picks that the algo is giving us. I think that Miami this week is just I'll have to look and see what I knew that it liked Miami, but I'll pull up the text from you to see what the rest of them are. But that's the one that just really, really, really stood out to me. So I don't really have any others, except I've been thinking a whole lot about Chargers Chiefs. I'll be interested to hear what you guys kind of think on that one. But I guess, Cody, do you have any that kind of stood out to you that you want to kind of stand on the table for, or bang the table for?
I guess in particular, that one you just brought up, I favor the Chiefs in that game on Sunday night. I think the number's at 4. I saw it earlier this week at like 3.5. I think we got it in Circa at 4. But the game that I was going to bring up was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is at 6-6. They're 2 weeks removed from a bye. The 2 weeks since the bye, they beat the Giants 30-7 as they should have. They had a tight game against Carolina last week where they did allow Bryce Young to go down and score in the last minute of the game. But then Baker does what Baker does, and he gets him into field goal position with 30 seconds on the clock on the road. 2 road games. Now they go back home against a team that they should be able to run against. Bucky Irving over 150 yards from scrimmage each of the last 2 games against a bad Raiders team that has no direction. Again, the Bucs dropped 4 games before the bye. Baltimore, Kansas City, a tight win against San Francisco, and Atlanta at home. They need to win games from here on out if they're going to have a chance to win this division, which I think they will be in the conversation all the way until the very end. Play the Saints in Week 18. The stretch run here for Tampa Bay lines up pretty well for them to kind of try and weasel their way to 10 wins. Las Vegas has been on a poor streak, obviously, all season long. The line here is 7 at home. May seem a little big, but I don't think a team like Tampa Bay, which I don't think is a bad team, I don't think it's a fraudulent team like I do believe some other teams around the league are fraudulent. I don't think Tampa Bay is fraudulent. And they have a quarterback with Mike Evans getting healthier by the week that can score points. And I like Tampa Bay this week, even with 7 at home.
I think it's just a big number for Tampa Bay. And when you look at the teams that they've played, for the most part, they beat up on the really bad teams, and the Raiders seem to just hang around. So I don't know. I can't back the Raiders. If I can find really good teams at a really good number, those would be my first selection. So I just think I think there might be better games out there. If I lean one way, it's going to be with the Raiders. The algo has this being a really close game, a 1-point game, really a half a point game. Tampa Bay barely wins by a half a point, 22.33 to 21.82. Wow. Again, like hard for me to back a number that big for a Tampa Bay. I mean, look, their offense has been really good. They have been. They're a top 6 team on yards per game. I like what they're doing. Their defense hasn't been doing what they've been doing in years past. Maybe it'll be maybe. I'm okay to fade the algo. The algo has plenty of games to fade. I just don't know if this is the one.
I definitely wish the number was, I would prefer, something a little bit lower, but like, even a 4.5 or something, 5.5, but obviously we're not going to get there because this is a locked number, but I get what your take is.
I'll say this too about that game. This was a game that, like, for DFS, I was interested in maybe stacking just because of it feels like what's going to happen this week, especially with Braylon Allen opening up, with Isaac Guerrero opening up, and with people are going to want to play either Barkley or Kamara. Nobody's going to play like the Bucky Irvings. Nobody's going to have any money to pay up for Brock Bowers. I think Jacoby Myers will be pretty popular this week, but no one's paying up for Mike Evans. So I think for DFS tournaments, it's interesting, but I got on my Blitz show this morning that will be up for our pro members over at RosterWatch and also for the premium subscribers at Roto Grinders. And Derek Carty, who does the Blitz projection system, was telling me, he's like, dude, this game, it projects to have like the least play volume as far as overall snaps. And that's something that goes into the matchup tool and stuff that's automated that I don't always get the chance to look at like I used to when I would have to make the matchup tool myself every week from scratch. But then I remembered, I'm like, man, Tampa Bay and Las Vegas both play slow. And if the number is 7, it's like I'd just be more comfortable with that, knowing that maybe these teams projected to have a higher play volume to where Las Vegas would have more chances to kind of stay in it. So
to echo what you just said, Vegas, they're ranked 8th this year in opponent yards per play. So it's going to be a grind. And in those, low volume type games, you want to take the points. So yeah, I think this is a tough one to get behind. You got anything else, Cody?
No, that's it.
All right.
Can I ask you guys just what you think about the Chargers and
I like the Chargers. I like the Chargers here. I think this is another probably slow tempo game. And if I can get 4 interdivision with probably the best Chargers team that, we've seen, I'm a believer And I'm also a believer in the Chargers are probably not going to win this game. Kansas City seems to have a difficult time beating anybody by more than a field goal.
That's what I kept thinking.
I don't know. This is the best defense that they've faced. This Chargers defense is ranked first in opponent points per game. They're ranked first in opponent points per play. They're ranked first in opponent touchdowns per game. I mean, if the Chargers defense was built to stop anybody, I think it's built to stop Mahomes. I think this is a field goal game. So that extra point, I've got to lean Chargers. I think they're just too good on.
I think your video cut out there for a second, but I'll just put one thought in here. And that's one reason why I hate taking these games is just that exact, not that take, but like, I think your take, it's pretty accurate. It's just that like, I don't want to be sitting there on that edge right there when it's like 3.5 and 3, or what is it? It was 3.5. Now it's 4. So we're betting on a field goal. We're betting on that field goal game to happen, and two very good teams. I think that's just where I'm.
Well, Circa has it at 4.
Yeah.
You saw that 3.5 and 4 number make all the difference. Look at the Green Bay Detroit game. This to me is the AFC version of that Green Bay Detroit game. Just instead of these high powered offenses, you've got high powered defenses. So it's the same game.
And so what happens if that field goal is kicked instead of the coach going for it on 4th down and running the timeout? Like, they kick that field goal. This is all hypothetical, but then Green Bay gets the ball, goes down, scores a touchdown, and they win by 4. And it's like,
I just feel great betting on a great team with a great number. And when you add the data component, it's got the Chargers winning this game outright, barely 20.74 to 20.66. So all the points you're getting, so all the value. This is a fair market. This is a fair market line on a neutral field, and then you're getting 4 points for that away.
When was Justin Herbert's rookie year? Was that 2020?
Yeah.
So he 3-point loss first game. Next game at KC, that was actually a 17-point win. Next game in 2021. It was a win by 6 points, 30-24. But those are the only wins Justin Herbert has had versus these guys. One other game has gone to overtime, but the Chiefs scored a touchdown in that game, so that one they wouldn't have covered there. They lost in the next game, but they would have covered this in that game. That was 24-27, 30-27 for the next game, so they would have covered that one. 17-31 loss at KC in 2023, and in the first matchup, so they would have lost that one. But in the second matchup of the season, they went 12-13 with a loss, so they would have covered that. And then with the first matchup this year, Kansas City, of course, won 17-10, so they wouldn't have covered it. But I think that we've seen since then, Kansas City's become a team that's, I mean, they let Las Vegas and Carolina and stuff stick in games with them.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they're a team that lets I don't know. I think I would generally side with the Chargers too here. I'm not saying that I love it. I'm not saying it was a windmill dunk.
I don't think it's wrong. It's two good teams. That's my problem. It's two good teams, and we're betting on this narrow margin.
We're not. It's not a narrow margin. It's 4 points.
The Chiefs win games, though. That's the thing. Is the Chiefs? I understand, like the algo's predicting a Charger win, and I think the Chargers are a good football team. And you get the 4, but
it's just hard. I mean, it's hard to bet against the fat man in red in the month of December
in Arrowhead.
Yeah. I like the Chargers side. I probably when I turn in my 7, I'll probably have the Chargers on.
Yeah, well, at that point, if I like the Chargers, you like the Chargers, and the algo likes the Chargers, sounds like the Chargers is gonna get in. And Cody, you're just gonna have to convince yourself that you like it.
I actually do kind of like it. And then the other game that I just wanted to just bring up, and again, I like looking at these teams. Now I got the algo pulled up. I like looking at the teams that the algo likes that are actually good, right?
That's right.
And Buffalo's actually good.
Buffalo's
Right.
really good. This is where I was going to go. This was going to be, my number one pick on the show outside of Miami, since you've taken that already. But
We're talking.
look, Buffalo ranked second in points per game, points per play. They're a well-balanced team, have a good defense, just giving up 18.7 points a game on the other side of the ball. This is a really good football team. I think this team may be the Buffalo team that potentially could take down KC, believe it or not. I think the Rams are also overinflated. I don't get it. I don't get it. This is, an okay team. Yeah, they've got their receivers back, but something's off. I'm not a believer in the Rams. Bills going, cross country. I don't think that plays well for the Rams as far as where they play. I'm sure Buffalo players are excited to get out of their lake effect winter blizzard and go play with some short sleeves on on a turf field. I think SoFi's turf, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. I've always thought it was.
But they just have a well-balanced team, and I think they match up really well against the Rams. I don't typically love road favorites, but at 3.5, I think it's a touchdown game easy. I love Buffalo. The algo has Buffalo winning 26.89 to 21.16. You're getting 2 points of value on the Bills. Feels really good to me.
Dude, so not only is it turf, but if you just look up SoFi turf, you'll see that like a big deal has been made about the specific they're actually very proud of this turf.
They should be. So who do you think that favors? I mean, I think Buffalo is a very fast team.
Yeah, look, man, I just Buffalo. Here's what it comes down to me. It's like you got the Rams that I can't understand why this line is what is it, 5 or something?
3.5.
It's 3.5.
Oh,
Circa.
God, dude,
Bad.
it should be 7. But this, we're talking about a caliber of team in the Rams that you could throw basically in the same bucket as the Saints without any.
That's a great comp.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a great comp. In fact, last week I thought the Saints should have won that game. They both had the same amount of yards. It was just a couple plays that went the other way, and that's just how the NFL works. That's a great comp.
And they were totally depleted and all the rest of this stuff. And then we're talking about the one team where it's like they're on the collision course with the Chiefs for the Super Bowl. It's like, I mean, we're getting 3.5. I mean, maybe it's what is the public do? Let me look at what the public is doing.
It's got to be all over Buffalo. It has to be.
I'm sure.
There's just not a lot of good things that this Rams team does well.
76%
really.
of the tickets, 80% of the money is on Buffalo. So like it'll be a popular pick, but I think it's a winner. I think it's a winner, and it's an afternoon game. It'll give us an afternoon sweat.
Another Cody, do you have any opinion on that game?
I was just going to say both Miami and Philly in November traveled cross country in prime time and won. Miami by 8, Philly by 17. So it aligns right in the east to west thing.
Perfect. I love that. Another good team I like, and especially these interdivision games, Arizona at home. This is another well-balanced team. I think Seattle's good. Seattle maybe a little hungover from flying back and forth, maybe a little gassed from their second half comeback, or maybe the Jets collapse, whatever it is you want to call it. But when you think about the game back in Seattle just a few weeks ago, that came down to a Kyler Murray pick 6 where they were driving and he threw that. They were going to go up. They were probably going to win that football game. And, then they end up losing 16-6. Arizona is a well-balanced team. I'm a big fan of this Cardinals team, more on defense. I think that's the biggest surprise. So I really like Arizona. I think it's really tough for an interdivision team of these caliber of teams. They're not. I think they're not elite, but they're certainly better than the Saints and the Rams of the world. And at home after already losing to the Hawks, I gotta take the Cardinals. Algo supports it 24.75 to 21.04. Yeah, potentially a 4-point game. I just think, let's find the winner here, and it's going to be the Cardinals.
I don't hate it because what I keep thinking to myself is that if you listen to Seahawks fans, they'll tell you, man, that the offensive line it's been bad I think it might be since Connor Williams had the midseason retirement that they've been in a little bit of trouble with the offensive line. But do we know anything from today about whether Ken Walker got into practice? Cody, have you seen that?
I didn't yet today.
I mean, if the offensive line's bad, playing bad, and the Arizona defense has actually been playing well. I mean, we saw last week versus Minnesota. That's a defense that's stepped up a good bit. If there's no Ken Walker, and I guess what is the line?
3.
Are they? Is it -3? Or are they getting 3?
Well, yeah, Cardinals at home. They're laying 3.
I like it. You're 2 weeks removed from that last game, and you had Seattle had to go all the way to New York. Arizona had to go to Minnesota. Arizona had the Minnesota game 1-2. They were up by 6 with 3 minutes left, and Sammy Darnold decided to go 70 yards and score on them. But I think this Cardinal team's good, and Trey McBride's a wagon right now, and they're trying to get Marvin Harrison involved more, and Connor just is continuing to be efficient. Like, they're a balanced football team, like Mitch said.
Connor had been good
Arizona all year, but
Connor needs to get back in the saddle, man. He's actually been bad for a few weeks here. But
for fantasy,
yeah. I'm a fantasy analyst, dude. I'm here trying to handicap these games with you guys, man. So I just don't know what to think about. I don't know what to think about the game. I don't know what to think about that whole division. Do you know? Do you all have?
I think there's good. I think there's some good teams in there, and I think there are teams that can make a run. I think Arizona is one of those teams that is probably going to go the furthest out of that division. But that's a big if. There's still a quarter of a season left. Can San Fran get healthy? That's another one, by the way. I think I don't know if San Fran, obviously McCaffrey's done. Does San Francisco, can they get stuff together with the group that they have now? I think Purdy's back, right? So
we're respecting.
It'll be interesting to see. It's probably more a matter of schedule than talent for who's going to playoffs. But I think Arizona's the best, well-rounded, healthy team today, right now. I don't know what it'll look like in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
This is Anthony Richardson. You're listening to RosterWatch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to